The Moore School District is launching a unique plan to provide housing for high school students who find themselves without a place to live. Steve Shaw joins us now with the details on that. Steve.
Rich, what Moore is doing is an extension of a program called Bridges of Norman, who have been serving homeless high school students there since 1995.
Of the 25,000 kids who attend Moore public schools, around 180 are homeless. Superintendent Robert Romines realized the extent during the pandemic.
We had a senior over at one of our high schools that fell on difficult times. His mother had been battling cancer for about a year, and she passed his senior year. And when she passed, he literally had no one. Dad wasn't in the picture, and he started what I now know as couch surfing, where he was trying to plan where he was going to lay his head on a pillow each night. And long story short, we were able to utilize Bridges out of Norman.
Bridges of Norman operates out of an apartment complex built back in the 1970s. 20 kids live in 20 one-bedroom units here. They're all around 400 square feet.
In order to become a client in the Bridges program, a student has to, number one, enroll in class, attend class, pass your classes, get a part-time job, or have a verifiable source of income, and no overnight visitors.
Students with incarcerated parents, deceased parents, parents with mental illness, there might be drug or alcohol addiction in the home, there could be family homelessness as well.
Bridges of Norman Executive Director Stacy Bruce says the homeless issue continues to expand.
We often have what we call non-residential students as well, and if we can identify a safe place for a student to live, if they can stay with grandma, if they can stay with their aunt or uncle or a friend and be safely housed, we think that's a better option for a student. So we'll encourage them to do that, and then we will serve them in a non-residential capacity where that means that they do all the things of our program except get an apartment here. So we'll see up to 60 students a year.
This is a computer animation of what Bridges now has cooking on the unused western tail of Sky Ranch Elementary's back property in Moore. Oklahoma City and Norman developer Richard McCown and other volunteers are designing a tiny home community of 10 duplexes. Each unit will have 2 400-square-foot apartment homes.
You know, these are good kids, and so often the perception is that they're bad kids, and that's why they find themselves without a place to live, and that's just not the case.
They need support.
They're good kids, and things have happened, whether it's a parent has died or had to move away and the kid wants to stay and graduate, or
the parents are unreasonable.
The parents are unreasonable. I personally knew a kid that was living out of his car for a while, and then he had an aunt that was charging him rent to sleep on her sofa, and he was getting no support, and he was a really good kid. He just didn't want to be sent off to private wrestling high school on the East Coast. He wanted to live in Oklahoma and go to school in Moore, and his parents kicked him out of the house over wrestling.
Stacy Bruce says they reached out to homeless teens in Moore before, but most didn't want to move to Norman. They wanted to stay in Moore. She says the tiny home development in Moore, McCown, and others are working on will serve those kids. An outpouring of love that was homegrown.
These students that have home insecurities, housing insecurities, they walk the halls with their peers. And the peers know what these kids are going through. And so they adopted Bridges and raised over $300,000 for the capital campaign to get this started.
More students.
More students did all of that. So this is not anything that falls on the taxpayers. And so that's a really good question. And it's probably important that gets out there.
McCown says Moore eventually will be a $3 million project. More fundraising will be needed, but the first 10 duplexes Texas should be ready next spring.
When you look at a kid that has got no choice, no place to live, and they're trying to stay in school and graduate, and
Trying to stay alive.
build a plan for their life, is the spirit of giving just comes pouring out of people.
Superintendent Romines says those interested in donating can email him at robertromines@moreschools.com. And by the way, that high school senior whose mother died of cancer, well, he made it and graduated.
But I asked him one question, and I said, talk to me about where you would be if Bridges was not something that we were able to put in front of you and you be able to take on. And he said one of two things: I'd either be living under a bridge or I'd be dead.
I heard that. Bridges of Norman's Stacy Bruce told me 100% of the eligible seniors in their program went on to graduate from high school.